right, we're here with Beans Baxter in his Sanctum Sanctorum, and it's really cool to chat with him and check it out. This is a subject I've talked about before, and I love talking about it. It's really interesting. People have reported that Bigfoot has these strange abilities. Have you heard some of those stories about abilities that Bigfoot has had?
I've heard people talk about everything from cloaking, like invisibility, to transportation, to telepathy. So yeah, it's definitely something I've heard of. I haven't personally had someone report something like that to me, but I've definitely heard of other people having encounters like that.
Tons of stories where they say it's like the predator, or it'll go to a tree line and then just kind of fade from existence, things like that.
Now, I did have, when we were in Port Chatham, I did have a strange encounter with a predator type. I don't know. It wasn't human shaped, is the thing. But I did see one of the gentlemen that was we were there filming for the Travel Channel. We were filming the Alaska Triangle show that you were on.
Yeah.
And one of the gentlemen that were Stephen, one of the gentlemen that was filming with us, said he heard a growl. And later on, I was sitting in the chair in front of the camera, being interviewed, and then it was time to switch. So then I was standing over by the window. This is in Port Chatham. This is the lone cabin that you see on the cover of my book there. And this was after that, and I'm standing there, and I'm just kind of, waiting. I'm trying to be quiet because they're filming over here. And I'm just looking out the window. And keep in mind, there's no glass. It's just it used to be a window. It's just an open space in the wall now. And I saw this weird shimmering, like it was maybe about the size of a beach ball, come down out of a pine tree and just kind of fall towards the ground. And it was one of those things where, did I just see what I thought I saw? And I kept looking. I didn't see anything else. I didn't hear anything else. And it had been raining earlier in the day. And I was thinking like, oh, well, was that just like a big collection of water that just fell out of this pine tree, like a beach ball size? And the more I thought about it, the less sense it made.
Right.
And I'm not saying it was a cloaked entity. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot. I don't know what it was. It might have been water at the end of the day that just somehow fell out of that tree. But it was one of the strangest things that I've ever seen, and I can't explain it.
Yeah, that's odd. Shimmering, that makes you think of like the predator style cloaking.
Yeah,
which we have gotten reports of.
And he did hear some sounds. Stephen heard some sounds in that general area before that. It makes you wonder. All I can do is speculate. But I've heard of people that have seen Bigfoot and other type entities, humanoid with arms and legs that can cloak and look like the predator.
We're at the Bigfoot Art Gallery with Rob Roy Menzies, and I got another topic for you. So I've heard stories about Bigfoot having kind of paranormal abilities or strange abilities. What kind of abilities have you heard in Bigfoot stories that they might have?
Oh, wow. Well, yes. The woo is strong in this one.
Yeah.
I've heard, the mind speak one.
Right.
I've heard that,
Mind speak.
Yeah,
like telepathy?
Telepathy kind of thing.
Wow.
Like they're being told to, anything like turn around, you're not wanted here, to, if you want to really see us, you got to do this, just like witnesses hearing things, and they don't know what it is, but they're hearing these things. That's kind of a big one. I don't know, because we have this telepathy thing. Even the government seems to be dabbling in that.
Right.
So maybe they do have some way of, maybe we have the ability, but we've lost it over the years. But the other thing would be the cloaking is interesting.
Right. Disappearing.
Their fur, I don't know what to say about that, other than maybe it's like moose fur. How do you explain it? Moose fur is almost, it's like translucent. You're when you shine a light on a moose, it doesn't shine.
Right.
It's almost flat.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's something going on like that with Bigfoot, because people that say they see a black one, it's just like black.
Right.
There's no, I mean, you can't see features, it's black.
Right.
When they change, I don't know what that is. I've heard a lot of stories about these things just disappearing.
Yeah.
Their footprints disappearing. Now, some of those can be attributed to them leaping long distances, which look
Right.
like their feet just stop and they can't find any more footprints.
Yeah.
But then I've read the stories where no, they looked around. It's like an open field or whatever, and they just stop.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't think they can fly. But certainly it's interesting. I don't know if they have these kind of abilities, but I imagine, and natural. I'm talking, these are not supernatural, just kind of natural abilities that maybe we would have
Right.
if we had stayed in the woods. And,
Yeah.
you can be in the woods for, even a matter of a few hours, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden your senses are even more aware. You can hear better. You can hear little snaps and things,
Yeah.
It slowly starts coming back. So maybe they do have some kind of crazy natural abilities that we can only perceive as paranormal.
Yeah.
Like they can see the different lights, like the lighting in these cameras. They don't like that. Maybe they can hear it.
Right.
Frequencies. I think there's a lot to do with frequencies.
You've mentioned the almost shocking sound.
Yeah,
That they can project.
That they make such a deep, their frequency of vocal, much like alligators, tigers, and lions can growl so deep they actually stun the prey a little bit.
Yeah.
And it seems like some of these eyewitnesses are experiencing that with those deep guttural growls.
Yeah.
I've heard, I don't know how many stories I've heard of people after a witness like that hears this. The next day they're sick, or they're sick for a week.
And you mentioned like it'll kind of vibrate their lungs and their chest. Kind of.
Even out in Area A, the owner, he's had growls where he's felt it in his chest.
Wow.
I have not personally experienced that out there yet, but I know what he's talking about. It's like being at a concert and the bass, you could feel it.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of power. That takes a
Right.
lot of power. So it's very intriguing. When you get into do they have two? I've heard that maybe they have two windpipes. When they vocal, it almost sounds like two. They can do these two different kinds of, frequencies in their voice, which is interesting, and it's just a theory. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It certainly seems like they have some abilities.
Yeah.
But I would like to kind of stay grounded and think that these are probably natural abilities. But
Yeah.
I can't explain the disappearing and the mind speak thing, other than maybe this is something that we could do at one time. But pretty interesting stuff. But
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Well, thank you. And everybody check
Thank you.
out the Bigfoot Art Gallery Facebook page where
Yeah.
you can get some of Rob's artwork if you
Yeah.
want to. He's got a lot of his own custom artwork that he even frames.
you betcha.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right, see you guys later.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And Rob was saying like some people have like theorized it's something with the hairs, like they've just evolved to be able to kind of blend in or camouflage.
It's not impossible. It's not unheard of. I mean, I'm sure you've seen octopus,
Right.
That can chameleons, octopus. It's not outside the realm of possibility for an animal to be able to change its colors to blend in with its surrounding.
Right, we have that in the animal kingdom.
Yeah, it's not as far-fetched as it seems.
Another interesting thing is Rob's heard a lot of stories about I've read about actual electric shocks, but Rob thinks that it's more of like sound waves, that it'll shock its prey or as a defensive mechanism, that when it roars, people will hear it in their chest. And it's some kind of like sound vibration.
I've heard the infrasound type deal. I've heard about that. The thing with infrasound is you don't hear infrasound.
Okay.
I had an experience in Washington when we were filming Bigfoot Encounters in the Pacific Northwest, where again, I didn't see it, didn't see anything. Can't say it was Bigfoot. Can't say it was. I mean, it might have been a cat, a mountain lion. But I was facing a tree line, and I was standing on a road, an old logging road, and I heard something behind me, just the faintest, like whoosh, 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 sounded like a whisper, and that freaked me out. Spun around. I had my thermal camera in my hand. I was looking with the thermal. I was looking with my naked eye, and it was the weirdest thing because it was like fear. Just it was like somebody flipped a switch and Beans was afraid.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out what it was. I was like, what did I hear? I didn't see anything. And then the fear hit me, and I didn't run, but I got expeditiously. I caught up with the group I was with, told them what happened. Was met with varying, like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. And I'm like, I'm freaked out, man.
Yeah.
And, I'm not bragging. I'm not saying this. I'm not Billy Badass, but,
Right.
I was in the military.
Yeah.
I've been a police officer. I've had people pull knives on me, guns on me. I've pulled my gun on people. I've been around lots of murderers, I mean,
Right.
and I don't know that I've ever been as scared in my life as I was at that moment.
Wow.
And it just lasted. It lingered. Like even when I got back with the group, relatively, we're back in the car. We're going back to our campsite. I still didn't feel safe. We're sitting at our campsite, and I just had this overwhelming dread. So our campsite was up against, there's like this ridge behind us. And as it got dark, I can't explain it. I just got the feeling that something was going to come over that ridge. Like the Bigfoot were going to come over that ridge like the Zulu Nation and kill us.
Right.
And nobody else. Well, Will Ulmer, who was with us, Grassman 58. He's another fellow Bigfooter. He felt uneasy too, but everybody else was just like, oh well,
Right.
good night, everybody. And me and Will stayed up all night and fed the fire. And about 3:00 in the morning, we hear this boom. It wasn't a gunshot. It wasn't a tree knock. It was just a big booming sound. And just like that, I wasn't scared anymore. It was like somebody flipped a switch, and I was like, ah. And Will looked at me and he goes, "Is it just me, or did the atmosphere change?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. Like I don't feel scared anymore." And it was one of the most unexplainable things that ever happened to me in my life. Like I have no explanation for it.
Right.
I wonder if I didn't get hit with infrasound or something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never had fear like that just hit. Like it was like somebody flipped a switch, and then again, it was gone. Just like but it was hours later, and I don't know if that sound had something to do with it. If anything, you think that sound would have made me more scared.
Right.
I don't know. It creeps me out just thinking about it, because it was like I wasn't in control of my own emotions.
Yeah.
Usually, you feel fear, you feel anxiety and stuff like that, but you're like, oh, I'm going to power through and get the job done. And that was just, it was weird. It was an unnatural feeling.
Some people say that the Bigfoot will do something like that to incapacitate people, to shock them, to almost paralyze them. So it's kind of interesting.
I don't know. And maybe, like I said, I've had that stress inoculation. I've been in life-threatening situations before.
Right.
Maybe that was the intent. It was like, I'm going to get this guy, because I had purposely separated from the group.
Right.
It was our last night there, and we'd had a ton of activity, tree knocks, vocals, all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to see something. I wanted a sighting. So I told the rest of the group, we were walking down that logging road. I said, "You guys go ahead, and I'll catch up with you." And I'm not thinking. I'm just thinking like, oh, maybe if something's trailing us or something's following us,
Right.
I'll surprise it. Like this one stayed back. I'm not thinking like this is how every missing 411 book starts. You guys go ahead, I'll be fine.
Right.
I'm just wanting to see a Bigfoot. And so I don't know if maybe that was the plan. That like we're going to get this guy, and because of my stress inoculation, the situations I've been in, it didn't take, you know, like it scared me, but I was just like, I'm going to get out of here. And maybe that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't know.
Right.
But I know it was one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me, and it's never happened again. Mm-hmm. And I, like I said, I didn't see anything. I heard the weird like whisper sound. I even tried to like rationalize what that might have been. Like when I got back to the truck, I like took my backpack off, and I'm like, I had like a plastic water bottle in it, and I'm like squeezing it to see like, well, did it get squished up against something? And that was the sound I heard, but it was airtight. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of possibilities as far as even the electric shocks. I mean, that's in the animal kingdom. Some people say snakes can kind of hypnotize their prey. I have heard of animals having some kind of ability like that. So who knows? The infrasound is interesting, though.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know. I don't know if that's what it was. I wish I knew. I imagine I probably never will know. But it was the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. The most unexplainable thing that I just can't. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So we're going to keep researching. Please check out Alasquatch on YouTube. I'll throw a link up here, and we'll keep up the videos.